With Hazbin Hotel set to premiere its first season on Amazon Prime this January 2024, I decided to take the months leading up to it to dive back into the deep lore of the series to help people have an understanding of the show and where it might be going. My name is ImpCut, hit the subscribe button, as literally no one has ever subscribed to the channel before, and that would make you the very first. Hazbin Hotel is premised on the idea of the daughter of Lucifer opening a rehabilitation center after remodeling one of her family's old hotels. This is Charlie Morningstar, daughter of Lucifer and Lilith Morningstar, and her happy hotel, treated as a hotel because it means sinners are just stopping by temporarily in hell instead of buying a home. This is to help with hell's overpopulation issue, as the earthborn sinners become immortal demons when they manifest in the Pride Ring of Hell. Between resources and general space, hell's system is too strained because of them. This resulted in the annual extermination, where angels known as exorcists come down on New Year's Eve to kill as many earthborn sinners as they can with special angelic weapons that are the only thing capable of ending their existence. Charlie thus hopes to get people who can turn their lives around into heaven, easing the burden of the annual purge even if it's not ending it, and especially allowing for those who have proven themselves worthy to escape this destruction. According to ancient livestream lore, Lucifer is actually responsible for the annual purge, helping to arrange and coordinate it with heaven. However, like with a lot of ancient livestream lore, it should be taken with a grain of salt, and if we find out Lucifer had no real choice in the annual purge and even dislikes it, I would not be surprised. However, the idea that Lucifer is essentially responsible for the extermination and his daughter Charlie is trying to prevent it makes for the best conflict among the characters, especially with Charlie's mother Lilith also being in the equation. While we don't know exactly the plot of the episodes for the series proper, there is a lot we can tell about the characters based on their real-life mythological inspirations. In Vivziepop's Helluverse, Lucifer is the king of all of hell, with his particular territory being the Pride Ring. In real life, Lucifer had various different interpretations over time, with him mostly being understood as a fallen angel who was once subservient to God. Lucifer, of course, means Lightbringer or Dawnbringer, which was the Latin or Roman name for the planet of Venus when they saw it in the morning. In the morning, Venus rises before the sun, making it look like it is bringing the dawn up as the sun rises behind it, hence the name Dawnbringer. Now, the term Lucifer was used to describe the motions of Venus in the morning and personify the planet, but Lucifer was not revered as part of the Roman pantheon of gods, and Venus even had other interpretations there. However, as a fictional narrative, Lucifer was understood more so as an obedient servant that helps God, the sun, rise every morning. The motions of Venus and the other planets were all well studied by many ancient cultures, however, and that same pattern could have negative interpretations outside of Rome. In the Old Testament, for instance, there's the famous passage of Isaiah 14, where the writer is trying to raise the people of Judea against a Babylonian king, describing him as having fallen from grace like Hillel ben Shachar, an ancient Hebrew term being used to describe Venus as dawn, the son of morning. In this passage, Venus is described as having fallen from grace, being cut to the ground, while Romans imagine Venus as carrying the sun up behind it, making it the sun's favorite star. The Old Testament of the Hebrews seemed to indicate that Venus had tried to outshine the sun, and had inevitably failed as the sun eventually rises over the horizon and Venus fades into the sky. This seemed to influence early Greek readers of the Old Testament, who would eventually go on to write the New Testament, where the fall of Satan would be portrayed as similar to the fall of Venus, with Satan being described as a dragon in the sky that is cast to the earth and taking 1/3 of the stars with him. It is important to note that Satan and Lucifer have different roots in their etymology, as we will explore shortly, and are often seen as different entities because of that, but have also crossed over with each other to be symbols of the same historical trend, even if they are absolutely separate characters in Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel. Satan comes from the Ha-Satan of the Old Testament, one of the sons of God who serves God but also challenges humans. Lucifer, however, would not be used as the name for Hillel ben Shachar until the 4th century Latin Vulgate, where the Latin name Lucifer would be used as an easy translation. However, at this point, there had already been a centuries-long belief that Venus, and whatever name you translate it as, was used to represent the fallen angels of Jewish myth in Isaiah 14, with Lucifer just becoming a very popular name to use following that translation and its use in other works such as Milton John's Paradise Lost. You see, along with the Old Testament, the Book of Enoch was also being passed around Greece in the centuries before Christianity began, which was famous for its heavy elaboration on how the fallen angels came down to earth, took human daughters as their wives, and corrupted humanity. The primeval stories of the Book of Genesis can all be understood to represent different times and perspectives on the same historical conflict, which appears to be that of a tribe of beings that we now call the fallen angels, teaching wandering human tribes how to farm and use architecture, but corrupting them with teachings about war and eventually breeding into their lines. In the Garden of Eden, this is represented by the serpent giving Adam and Eve the forbidden fruit of knowledge of good and evil, hence why Lucifer has a lot of apple and snake imagery within his various designs in Hazbin Hotel. Eve is of course famous as the wife of Adam and the mother of all humans. However, there are oral traditions within Judaism that claim that Adam had a wife named Lilith first, who was created from the same dust as Adam. Because of this, she saw herself as Adam's equal and refused to submit to him despite it being the will of the hierarchy of creation. Lilith was banished from the Garden of Eden then, and Eve was created from the rib of Adam to be subservient to him. Now, Lilith and Eve were not real beings, at least with those names in the way that people imagine them sometimes, but instead were symbols for larger figures in this historical narrative, often representing tribes or aspects of tribes. The serpent represented a tribe of beings that were seen in ancient times as the sons of God, or the fallen angels, people who had advanced far enough ahead of the early wandering other tribes that they were seen as enlightened beings passing down their knowledge. However, some of these wandering tribes would take issue with the teachings and how they changed and perhaps even corrupted their way of life, and they would be seen as more villainous fallen angels. Eve is the English name for Adam's wife, but in the Hebrew it is Shava, a term meaning to breathe or to exist, signaling the beginning of life as the mother of all humans. This made Shava a symbol representing all of women in early times, and thus Lilith couldn't really be Adam's first wife then. Instead, Lilith represents specifically the portion of these early women who married or bred into the line of supposed fallen angels. As far as writings on Lilith goes, she is most well understood through her passages in the 12th century Jewish Kabbalistic text, the Zohar, which contains commentary on the Torah and explains the connections between its various stories, illustrating the overarching narrative of fallen angels within the Torah as a whole and the primeval Genesis in particular. In this text, it is explained that the serpent is the true father of the first son of Eve, known as Cain, himself known for farming and architecture, such as the fallen angels seem to teach the humans. It goes on to explain that Cain is the father of the line of the sons of God, and later the Nephilim, though other passages claim that it is Lilith who is the mother of all demons in some instances, and in others claims it is Cain's descendant Nama who is the mother. All of these seemingly contradictory claims are meant to explain to the reader that the Book of Genesis was a compilation of stories about the same conflict, but written by different people at different times and in different locations who would use different symbols and names. Thus, there is no real singular name that should be used, as they are all just figures meant to symbolize the many women who would marry and breed into the line of fallen angels. Lilith thus is understood to be essentially synonymous with Eve, and raises some interesting questions about why Eve hasn't been seen in the show or the promotional materials. Adam has been seen as the leader of the Exorcists in Hazbin Hotel, leading the charge of the annual extermination to kill sinners in the Pride Ring. He is even introduced with another exorcist named Lut, one of the many female soldiers in his army, but Eve isn't seen or mentioned. In the show, it may be possible that there is no real Eve, and instead, Lilith was the original wife of Adam in the Garden of Eden, who perhaps gave birth to her children there, and then ran off to be with fallen angels, as the Zohar claims. Lucifer as a Roman name isn't something recognized in Jewish Kabbalah. However, Lucifer we have shown to just be a symbol representing the entire tribe of people who presented as the sons of God or as fallen angels in earlier Jewish myth. Instead, the Zohar claims that the serpent was ridden by an angel known as Samael, who was said to be the leader of the sons of God from the Book of Enoch, though he isn't named there. The authors of these great texts knew very well that the symbols change from one story to the next, often to demonstrate a different aspect of the narrative that another symbol does not help convey. So Samael was not seen as some random angel that was forgotten to be mentioned in Enoch, but rather he was understood, like Lucifer, to just represent that tribe of fallen angels as a whole. Eve then is said to have given birth to Cain after being impregnated by Samael riding the serpent. Cain is seen as the beginning of the descent from the sons of God into what is called the line of Nephilim, a race of giants that are said to have sprung from the union of human women and fallen angels in the Book of Enoch and the Book of Genesis. Nephilim means fallen ones, further indicating the fallen status of the angels as they fell deeper into the line of humanity. But what's important here is that they were understood as very tall giants. Lucifer is surprisingly short in Hazbin Hotel, but his daughter Charlie certainly is not. While she seems to get her height from her mother Lilith, it feels like a clear reference to Samael, who is Lucifer, being the father of Nephilim, the giant half-angelic children. Of course, this makes sinners much more than just random souls for Lucifer to take in hell. He seems to have been involved with the sabotaging of humans in Eden in the show, leading to more and more of them coming to hell instead of making it into heaven. Along the way, Lilith would run off with Lucifer, and that seemed to bring the anger of Adam, whose face makes me think that he wants to exterminate as many of his descendants as he can just to punish Lucifer and Lilith. Lilith was the original intended mother of all humans, but being cast out of Eden means she was robbed of that and instead became the mother of demons. The humans may be her trophy to get back at the angelic order, her way of getting all the souls that should have been her children to return to her in hell instead of going to heaven. However, if she gave birth to humans before running off with Lucifer, as I theorized earlier, having the sinners in hell may mean a lot more to her. She may see the sinners as her distant offspring in that case, and thus the only way to be with them is for them to also be in hell. However, she and Lucifer seem to be very distant from the sinners, choosing to let them enslave themselves, and it's hard to say what either of their motives really are at this point in time. The show will inevitably have its own twists and turns that differentiate it from any of the source materials that it draws inspiration from, and a lot of what we learned early on may not be relevant to the show when it airs. But with that in mind, this is everything you need to know about the Morningstar family before Hazbin Hotel premieres. Subscribe for more Hazbin lore, and if you want to learn more about fallen angels, click the video on the left to check out a video from my personal channel.